Good morning. Good morning, ladies. This is Laurel again, going live. I am the fibroid flower child, and I'm tired. But I wanted to read to you a little bit from prescription for herbal healing. It says an easy-to-use A to Z reference to hundreds of common disorders and their herbal remedies by Phyllis A. Balch, CNC, best-selling author of Prescription for Nutritional Healing. It says it's the most authoritative guide to more than 200 herbs and herbal preparations. And I did get this book a while ago. It was a gift from my mama, and I got a lot of useful information out of this. Good morning, Joy. Good morning, Roshan. Good to see you here. This is a huge book, as you can see, but I'm just going to read the section on fibroids. It's only a page and a half. There's also a lot of information I got out of this book because it then has separate sections on different herbs and the specific herbs, and so I'm sure I'll read that later, but for now I just wanted to get started and let you guys know some free information out of the book that I used. It says fibroids, uterine myomas. As many as a third of all women over age 35 have benign uterine growths known as fibroids or myomas. And to be fair, just to interject my experience and my situation, I am quite certain that my fibroid was benign, but I did not ever have a biopsy done. I was scheduled for a biopsy to determine if it was cancerous, and I didn't go ahead with the biopsy. And so I never actually got the determination as to whether or not it was benign or cancerous. But to be fair, my doctor had given me some ease in letting me know that over 95% of all fibroids are benign. So I kind of went with that. I kind of just knew that I'm not needing to worry about cancer, although my doctor also warned me that I stick to a timeline if I was going to try this airy-fairy natural healing baloney. She said that she did have a client that did let the fibroid go long enough that it did become cancerous. And I don't really know the truth behind that. I don't know any other information. I think that may have even just been a scare tactic because doctors tend not to understand nutrition and nutritional healing. Anyways, let's see. Back to this. As many as a third of all women over age 35 have benign uterine growths known as fibroids or myomas. A fibroid is a well-defined solid growth in the myometrium, or smooth muscle, supporting the uterus. Fibroids vary in size from that of the period at the end of this sentence to that of a cantaloupe. Multiple fibroids may occur. In many of the women who have them, fibroids produce no symptoms. The first symptom may be either pain at the beginning of the period or increased menstrual flow. Fibroids usually do not interrupt the menstrual cycle, but as they grow, they can cause increased frequency of urination, bladder displacement, urine retention, and constipation. They can also cause infertility or miscarriage, pain during sexual intercourse, increased vaginal discharge, and, due to the bleeding, anemia. Sometimes a fibroid is forced partially through the cervix, loses its blood supply, and dies, resulting in a foul odor. Fluctuations in levels of estrogen and progesterone, the two main female sex hormones, influence fibroids. Fibroid growth, like that of all uterine tissue, is stimulated by estrogen. Estrogen levels can increase for a number of reasons, including excess weight and the use of estrogen replacement therapy during menopause. After menopause, When a woman's body produces as much as 80% less estrogen, fibroids shrink. And I just want to pause right there and say that that sentence gave me so much hope. I was, I think, 47, 48, basically, when I was diagnosed with my fibroid. And so I Googled or looked up or found the information somehow about the average age that menopause occurs. And it was 51, according to whatever source I was reading. And so I put two and two together and realized that's only 3 years away for me. If I can clean out my system, I could potentially have this fibroid just go away on its own because of my menopause, because of my reduction in estrogen production. So yeah, after menopause, when a woman's body produces as much as 80% less estrogen, fibroids shrink. They go away on their own with menopause, with reduction in estrogen production. So that also taught me, or showed me, that cleaning out my liver and my kidneys the way Cindy G is teaching us, the way Cindy G said to detox, then is going to release any excess estrogen that my body's holding on to and promote the menopause, or promote the reduction of estrogen, which I needed. It says, while all uterine tissue responds to estrogen, fibroid tissue is extra sensitive to progesterone. Small fibroids may not need treatment, although they should be checked on a regular basis. Doctors are more likely to treat large and actively growing fibroids that are causing extensive bleeding. Surgery and drugs, which may have such masculinizing effects as a deepened voice, are the most common options. Fortunately, fibroids are almost never malignant. While herbal treatments used to control bleeding can work quite quickly, those that control hormone levels usually bring noticeable results in approximately 3 months. Formulas relieve fibroids by balancing the body's production of estrogen and progesterone, and relieve combinations of symptoms in 3 to 6 months of use. Consult a healthcare provider before using herbal medicine with prescription medications. And then it goes on to show a chart of beneficial herbs. The first herb that it mentions, and this is not number 1, this is just in alphabetical order, but the first thing says black cohosh. It says the form and dosage is tablets. Take 200 to 500 milligrams daily. The side note, the side comment says, stops bleeding and relieves pain, especially leg pain. I did take some black cohosh. I didn't stick with it. Just telling you my business. Cinnamon. Now, just to be fair, I do take cinnamon. I take true cinnamon. It's called Ceylon cinnamon, and there is a big difference between cinnamon and Ceylon cinnamon. One is true cinnamon, that's the Ceylon cinnamon, and the other one is a very similar bark, but it's not. It doesn't have the same healing properties with the uterus and with fibroids. For cinnamon, they recommend oil. I take the crushed powder. It says 5 to 10 drops every 15 minutes for up to 4 hours or until bleeding subsides. My bleeding had already subsided by the time I discovered this, and so I take cinnamon because what else I heard about cinnamon is that it's an ancient remedy for women and for uterine issues just across the board. So I like that. It says it is a traditional American medicine for fibroid bleeding. The next herb that it mentions is called Dan Shen, and I never took any Dan Shen. I don't know about it. If I did, I don't know that I did. It could potentially, I suppose, be in the Jehudi Matcha herbs. I don't remember what's all in there. It's Jehudi Matcha herbs are amazingly chock full. The form and dosage recommended for Dan Shen says use only under professional supervision, and it says that there's a precaution for the use of this herb. It says Dan Shen stops fibroid bleeding, but it increases bloodstream estrogen levels. Do not use it on an ongoing basis. So when I saw a note like that, I just kind of threw it out of my mind. I just decided that's too scary. I'm not at that level. I'm not jumping to everything yet, so I'll try that later if nothing else works, but I just didn't bother going with the Dan Shen. It seemed too risky. To be fair, the notes, the comment that it says about Dan Shen says it treats congealed blood, dark red clots during menses, and pelvic congestion. The next beneficial herb that's recommended is green tea. It just says the form and the dosage is tea. Take it as it's directed on the label, make green tea. It says it's a powerful antioxidant with anti-cancer properties. And I do have green tea. I have included green tea in my repertoire. I was hesitant at first. I thought that the caffeine would be dangerous, and so I still am careful about green tea because I'm careful about caffeine. And then the other beneficial herb recommended is reishi, R-E-I-S-H-I, and I'm pretty sure reishi is a mushroom. It says to use, for form and dosage, it says to use the tincture form. Take 1 tablespoon, 12 milliliters, in a 1/4 cup of water 3 times daily. It says that reishi, the notes say reishi stops pelvic inflammation. It's useful if there's also emotional tension. And so that right there tells me I might want to try some reishi. I think that stopping pelvic inflammation, and if it's useful for emotional tension, that's right up my alley. There's also a little paragraph here about herbs to avoid. It says women who have fibroids should avoid the following herbs: cordyceps, which again, I'm pretty sure that's a mushroom. It says fennel seed, licorice, and peony. And it says for more information regarding these herbs, see cordyceps, fennel seed, licorice, and peony under the herbs in part 1. And I'm reading you from part 2 about herbal prescriptions for common health problems. Now it also mentions some formulas, and I'll go ahead and read the formulas to you. The first formula mentioned is called augmented rambling powder. It's a traditional Chinese herbal formula that lowers estrogen levels. It's most useful if its accompanying symptoms include dry mouth, blurry vision, and difficult or painful urination. I've never heard of it. I may or may not have tried it because I did go to an acupuncturist to work on my fibroids, and I did take some Chinese herbal medicine that was written in Chinese, so I didn't know what it was, and I did have an allergic reaction to it, so I can't recommend that, although I'm sure it's highly effective for plenty of people. It just didn't work for me. I didn't stay with the acupuncture or the herbs, considering I had an allergic reaction. I was welted and itchy all over for like 48 hours, so I'm not even sure what augmented rambling powder is. The next formula that's suggested says cinnamon twig and pariah pill. Again, a traditional Chinese herbal formula that lowers estrogen levels without interfering with the menstrual cycle or encouraging weight gain, which sounds awesome. The next formula mentioned is Dong Quai and peony powder, which I find interesting because I've never even heard of peony powder. It's a flower as far as I know, as far as gardening goes. And yet in the herbs to avoid, it mentioned peony as something to avoid. But here it is as a formula with Dong Quai. The comment says a traditional Chinese herbal formula that reduces blood estrogen levels without having masculinizing effects. Also reduces the formation of inflammatory compounds in the uterus. And then the last formula that it mentions is called 4-substance decoction. Again, a traditional Chinese herbal formula that treats both fibroids and endometriosis in women who are affected by poor diet or overwork. Wow, well, poor diet and overwork is exactly the conditions that got me into having a fibroid. It says the precaution for the use of the formulas: do not use augmented rambling powder if you're trying to become pregnant. The next section on the book, so I'll show you. So far, we read this part, and we read this part, and this part, and we're now at recommendations. It says, because estrogen is produced by body fat, eat a diet that does not promote excess body fat. And then it does say, see estrogen reducing diet in part 3. So we'll read that together some other time. It says, avoid alcohol and caffeine as both can interfere with liver function. Milk thistle can help support liver function. And I do take milk thistle as part of my healing regimen. I'll show you. I have a tray here. I actually am low on some of my herbs, but I take all manner of things. I take a ton of stuff. There's a few things missing. I have to go to the store today and get more of my raw vitamin B complex and more of the multivitamins that I take and more of the Ceylon cinnamon. I've run out of that. But milk thistle, it says it can help support liver function, and that really rang true with me. I decided if I'm taking all this stuff and I'm trying to clean out my liver, like, I want good liver function, so I do take milk thistle. Let's see, here it is right here. It's 100% vegetarian, and it's 250 milligrams of milk thistle seed with another 200 milligrams of 250 milligrams of milk thistle seed extract and another 200 milligrams of organic milk thistle seed, Silybum marianum. And I take 2 of those a day, 1 in the morning and 1 at night. I just buy the Sprouts brand. For a long time I bought name brands, and I thought that this was not as comparable, not as good quality, until I really sat down and did the math and calculated like how many servings in each size. They sort of all vary, and when I did the math, I found that the Sprouts brand is completely comparable. Let's see, it says, back to the recommendations, it says, do not take oral contraceptives with a high estrogen content. Consider barrier forms of contraception, such as a cervical cap, condoms and foam, or a diaphragm. I haven't really worried too much about getting pregnant in many years, and I'm not even sure if those are current ways to avoid getting pregnant. But like I said, it's an old book. It is actually still for sale in the health food store in Sprouts where I shop, but it's probably an updated version. This is copyright 2002. The next recommendation says, avoid progesterone creams. Creams made with Dioscorea or wild yam are used by many women to treat to treat menopausal symptoms. Let me take a drink. I have my lemon water. I'm out of cayenne, another thing I need to go get from Sprouts, but I start every morning off with a quart of lemon water. I squeeze 2 lemons and about 1/4 teaspoon of cayenne powder, and that's what I do every morning. Excuse me. Okay, where were we? Creams made with Dioscorea or wild yam are used by many women to treat menopausal symptoms. Such creams have no detrimental effect on uterine fibroids and may actually stop bleeding and pain. However, some quote-unquote Dioscorea creams contain progesterone that is not identified on the label and which stimulates fibroid growth. Either use Dioscorea itself or creams that are certified not to contain added progesterone. Again, Dioscorea is in part 1 of this book. I'll read it some other time. The next section, and we're almost done here, it says considerations. Uterine bleeding can be a symptom of a number of different disorders, including cervical and uterine cancer. It should always be brought to a doctor's attention. That being said, I did not have a good experience with the doctors that I went to. I went to a number of doctors, and I was told there's no natural way to heal fibroids and that I needed surgery immediately, that I was going to be forevermore disfigured and that there was no other solution, and that turned out to be not true. So I'm not suggesting be leery of doctors, and I'm not suggesting don't go to your doctor, but you are the authority to your body, and that's what I'll stand by about my body. That's what Cindy G has taught me. I want to give her credit and say she healed me, but the truth is she keeps reiterating, you healed yourself. And so I did go to numerous doctors. I did have a doctor through my entire healing journey, but I also went to a naturopath, and I also saw a masseuse, and I also saw a spiritual healer, and I also hired Cindy G and joined the Fibroid Healing Academy. So I had a wide array of specialists, not just listening to everything my doctor says and doing everything the doctor says, which is surgery, 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 which I didn't need. Hallelujah. It says, in the past, it was a matter of general practice to remove fibroids surgically if the uterus was enlarged to the same extent it would be in the 12th week of pregnancy. Increasingly, however, physicians are becoming reluctant to remove fibroids solely on the basis of the 12-week rule. They say 12-week rule. Unless they are causing medical problems. Since fibroids usually shrink with the onset of menopause, the condition may take care of itself over time, especially if herbal therapies are used to keep symptoms in check. The next consideration that it mentions is high stress levels, and I really believe that's the major culprit for me. I was in a high stress level for years. It says high stress levels and excess weight work together to increase the risk of fibroids. Fortunately, improving any of these factors will decrease the risk of fibroids. And then it also says to read the section on stress, and I'm not going to do that right now. Again, there's plenty out there for us to find out about stress or to learn about stress on our own, but I'll read it maybe some other time. Thank you guys again for watching. I really appreciate this community and this togetherness that we have here. Let's see, the second to last consideration is that a woman's chance of developing fibroids may be decreased if she avoids using oral contraception, oral contraceptives. And of course, that's kind of part of the whole farm system of hysterectomies. It tends to start with putting young ladies on the pill when they have cramps, which is exactly what happened to me. My parents actually had me have a surgery that was unnecessary, and then they put me on the pill, and I was only 15 and I wasn't sexually active, and I didn't know how to care about my body. I didn't care to how delicate my system could be, and so I was terrible about taking the pill. I took it, I think, for 7 years till I was like 21. Right. I almost never took the pill with regularity, and at age 21 I decided, like, that's probably not safe, and I probably shouldn't mess around with something as serious as hormones and my reproductive system, and so I stopped taking the pill at 21, but who knows what that did. I had taken it at that point for 7 years. The last consideration I want to read to you, it says women with fibroids may have higher levels of human growth hormone in their bodies than other women do. I don't know anything about human growth hormone, I'm sorry to say. I just wanted to read you all the considerations. So as a recap, we read about the uterine fibroids, uterine myomas. They gave us a list of some beneficial herbs, some herbs to avoid, some formulas which turn out to be Chinese formulas, traditional Chinese herbal formulas. And then I read to you recommendations and considerations. I also want to let you know that I do take a bunch of other herbs that were not mentioned in this, and so I can't wait to come back on camera and tell you about those. But we've got enough for now. I've got to get running. I wish you all a blessed day. Peace, love, namaste. Mwah. I'm out.